Hi everyone, it's Ms. Smoot. I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys about the annotated bib, what it is, and how to set it up properly. So an annotated bibliography seems like a really scary thing, but it's not, at least not the way that I do it, because I walk you through it step by step, and really it's nothing too scary. Really what it is it's your way of explaining to me why your sources are worthy of being used for your project, but you're still going to use formal voice and tone and setup for this kind of paper. Basically, you'll be explaining how it passes the CRAP test and how it will be relevant to what you're presenting on. And so the format of each of our entry, or as I like to call them, chunky paragraphs, will be a summary of the article is, a critique of the author, and let me know how that information will be used. I updated the rubric to make it a little bit more fair. Here's a screenshot, but I'll also post that in its learning. And then rules as far as formatting goes, I'm going to walk you through how to set it up in a second, and it will end up looking like this. Hooray, hooray. So first things first, I'm on page 8 of my packet for my in-person kids. I think online it's the same as well, maybe page later, but it starts with how to write an annotated bibliography. And I took this from the University of New England because it's good enough for college, it's good enough for us. And I feel like they do a great job of breaking down what goes into your annotated bib. So I'm just going to quickly go through it. Each annotated source will have 5 parts. So for however many sources you have, so let's say you have 3 sources, you have the 3 entries you'll make. Each one will need a citation, and as I made a note up here, we only use MLA in our class. Then you actually get into your chunky paragraph. You'll need a short statement that explains the focus, a short summary of the theory or the research findings, the subject it covers, who they intended to give this information to. Tell me about the usefulness and or the limitations of what your source is. Now, just to be clear, even if you're like, hey, there is a limitation because there's no author listed, or oh, I can't find their credentials, so I don't actually know if they are truly, credible about this, but they did a great job writing the article. I'm not going to come to your house and say you can't use that source anymore. No, just tell me the limitations so I understand it's a very realistic fact that there are going to be limitations, but that ultimately it is still a good source. Credibility of the author, if they left out any content, if the links that they have in there don't work anymore, those are kind of things you want to look out for. The usefulness would be like, oh, they have great working links. They are published in this all the time. They have a history degree, whatever. And then an evaluative comment on the work and how it will fit into your research as a whole. What this will be is when you're not just going to say, this will help me answer my questions about Ray Bradbury. You need to go deeper into that and tell me how it's going to help and how you'll end up using it to explain to your classmates about your subtopics. So, if you're like, I'm still kind of confused, don't worry. I have on the next page from them the parts, and then they have sentence examples for how you can start your sentences. And so that way, if you feel a little bit confused, don't worry, I got you. And they even have an example of their chunky paragraph for us. So you could look at that and see how they write. So that way you feel more comfortable. Theirs is 172 words long. My general rule of thumb is that for each source, your chunky paragraph should be 120 to 200 words long. Just that way it gives me a good taste about what you're writing about and what you're using from each of your sources. So I think we feel good about that. Now I'm going to move into formatting. So follow along with me, or pause and go as you wish for your Google Doc. As we know, top left corner, we're always going to have our name, student name. So, then you're going to have teacher name. Hi, I'm Mrs. Smoot. Then you're going to have your class. If you're in person, put our class period. If you're online, you can put FBA online. And then after that, you'll need the date. Now remember, for MLA formatting, we have a very specific date. Also, the bell's going to ring in like 30 seconds, so don't freak out. The date goes from day to month to year, so it's written in the European style. So I don't really care what date you guys put. I typically just put whatever my due date is, or just like, the day I started working on it. Don't be like, I'm going to predate it to January 6th. Some smooth things have worked on this whole time. No, don't care. So make sure you spell out your entire month. Wait, I didn't spell it right at all. That's embarrassing. There we go. And make sure you put the right year, because I do laugh at that, because we always do this in January, and I see lots of 2020s. Probably this year I'll see them. And all right, so far so good. However, we don't have the correct font. So Times New Roman 12 is what it will always need to be. So now it looks better. We also need it to all be double spaced. So I'm going to go up here, this arrow thing, line spacing, and pick double. For your title, you can make it the snazzy title. Make it interesting, just so I'm entertained. So All right. And then we would be ready to start. However, we still need to have our page numbers. Now, page number can be a little bit tricky, so I'm going to help you guys out with it. You'll go to Insert, Page Numbers. Then you pick this one that has them in the top right corner. Insert Page Numbers, the one that puts the numbers in the top right corner. So we pick it. We need to have our last name before the page number. Also, if you're worried why it's grayed out because it lets us know it's going to change the page number for us on every single page. Because if you just wrote in the number 1, it would show up like that on every single page, so the page numbers wouldn't be right. So we're good to go so far. However, as the astute person would note, these are 2 different fonts, and that means it's not fully MLA format. So you need to make sure this is also Times New Roman 12. Miss Smoot, do you really notice things like that on papers? Yes, I do, and that's actually one of the most common ways people lose their points. So we're good to go. We're actually ready to get started. There's a few ways to add in the citation. In our packet, hold on. There you go. On page 3, I have listed all sorts of formats for a book, for an online newspaper, for an academic journal, for how it should be properly set up. And then I give you like an example filled out one. So that would be great for you to check against. If you're like, hey, I have like a YouTube video, you don't have that listed, not a problem. What I would do is search up Purdue OWL MLA format. And what it'll pull up was this. And Purdue OWL is amazing. It has everything you could want. So over here, I see it has works cited, basic format, their books, periodicals, electronic sources, other common sources. And so it has all of their examples listed, so I follow those. The good news for us is if you found your source in Galileo or JSTOR, it's much easier to have a good citation. I'm going to pull up my academic journal. Here's me pretending this is mine. And over here on the right-hand side under Tools, it says Cite. Click on that. It has all these different types of citations. You don't need any of these. We want only this one, MLA. Boom, boom. So I'm going to highlight all of it, Control-C, Control-V into my doc. All right, we've got it here. It doesn't look quite right, though. So we're going to fix it. First, for some reason, it always has a gray wash over it for the highlight. So I'm going to make that be none. Next, as you guys know, it needs to be Times New Roman 12, so we got that fixed. And I always make sure it's like black ink or black coloring for the letters, because for some reason it's gray. Would I take off points if it was gray? Probably not, but if it's like bright blue, make sure you fix it. So we're good to go, and now is when we would start writing our paragraph. Here's the thing that's missing. This doesn't have a hanging indent. I'm going to show you how to fix it, but it's easier for us to go ahead and type our paragraph first. So I've got my very lovely paragraph. It's amazing. We're having a great time. Oh my gosh, Miss Smoot, your words are amazing. And I hit 150 words, so it's well within the spot where it's supposed to be. Oh, amazing. I know you're impressed. Boom. And now I'd be ready to do my next citation. Here is how you would want to do the hanging indent. And I found this out thanks to TikTok, so it's fun. So highlight the citation, go to Format, go to Align and Indent, Indentation Options, and under Special, you pick Hanging Indent. That way, boom, it does it for you. It's so much easier than pressing Enter and trying to hit Tab, and then everything gets moved over, and it looks kind of weird. This way, it does it for us nicely. And you'll know you did it right because when you have your citation and then your paragraph, it will have a nice little chunk taken out because the citation has a hanging indent and your paragraph has a regular indent. I don't know why there's a little space over here. Don't worry about it. I'm assuming that like I messed up with my beautiful writing. And that would be good to go. If you're like, well, how do I cite my website? I have it on this page for you, or you can check Purdue OWL and it will help you out. Just double check yourself to make sure everything looks right and matches what mine does on this page. When in doubt, like let's say you said a YouTube video and I didn't get that one, I'm going to go check on Purdue OWL what it was so I know that's what it's supposed to be because that's what I follow. We're good to go. And once you have it done properly, here's what a very nice looking annotated bibliography would look like. Boom, boom, boom. I've got my sources, I've got my paragraphs, everything looks good to go. And we're okay. I'm going to put this up on as learning for you guys to look at as an example, so you can make sure yours kind of looks like mine. And I think that should be everything. And I think we're good to go. All right. Thanks, guys.